Hello dear viewers, my name is Fardin Nouri and I'm a migration consultant in Germany. As you know, in my previous video, I explained for you about a compulsory residence in the first camp of the asylum seekers and about the fact that in which cases it can be ended. Today, I would like to explain for you about the change of city or state during the asylum procedure while having an Aufenthaltsgestattung or after you get a rejection for your asylum application and have a Duldung in Germany. In fact, after the asylum seekers live for some time in the first camp of the asylum seekers or the initial reception center of the asylum seekers in Germany, where their residence is compulsory, they will then be distributed to municipalities or to regional districts, and these municipalities and regional districts must provide accommodation for these asylum seekers. These municipalities or regional districts usually provide accommodation to these asylum seekers either in a shared accommodation, which in German it is called Gemeinschaftsunterkunft, or in an apartment operated by the municipality or the regional district. It is worth mentioning that the placement of the asylum seekers in the shared accommodations or apartments operated by the federal state is also possible. This assignment to the municipalities, regional districts, or to the federal states is called Zuweisung in German language. And when the asylum seekers are assigned to a city, district, or to a federal state, they receive a letter of assignment, which in German it is called Zuweisungsbescheid. Before distribution, the asylum seekers can express their wish to be assigned or to be sent to a particular city or regional district. They can only be assigned or sent to the city or regional district they want to move to if their spouse or partner already lives there, or if they are minor children and expect to be brought to their parents, or vice versa. And in such cases, a family reunification must be made possible. In addition, so-called hardship cases can also be taken into account. For example, if an old, sick asylum seeker wishes to be assigned to the municipality where his adult son or daughter lives. The same applies if there is a case of disability. Of course, other wishes can also be expressed, but the chances of success are very low. In addition, the chances of getting to a large city are also very low, because most of these big cities or regional districts have already taken the number of asylum seekers they had to. If the asylum seekers want to be sent to a specific city or regional district, they should contact the Office of the Social Services in their initial reception center, and they should give the best possible reasons for their request. For example, close relatives, the care of old or sick relatives, the presence of the religious community in a certain place of residence, and so on. The employees then pass on their request to the administration of the state reception authority. The state reception authority then decides on the basis of the legal requirements, the importance of reasons, and the distribution system. If you're being assigned to a city or regional district and you still get financial support for your living expenses from social welfare office, which in German it is called Sozialamt, you're usually obligated to live in the same city or regional district. In your temporary residence permit, which in German it is called Aufenthaltsgestattung, it is also usually written about the restriction of your residence in your city or in your regional district. If you're working and do not get financial support for your living expenses from social welfare office, your respective foreigner's office, which in German it is called Ausländerbehörde, should not write about the restriction of your residence in your temporary residence permit, and your residence should not be restricted to the city or regional district where you're currently living. If in your temporary residence permit your residence has been restricted to your current city or to your current regional district, but you do not get any financial support for your living expenses from social welfare office, you can apply in your respective foreigner's office for cancellation of your obligation to live in your current city or regional district. And this office should delete the sentence or phrase about the restriction of your city or regional district from your temporary residence permit. In German, this application is called Antrag auf die Aufhebung der Wohnsitzauflage. If you want to move to and live in another city or another regional district, you should submit or send an application named Antrag auf Umverteilung to your respective foreigner's office. In this case, your respective foreigner's office will then send your application to the responsible foreigner's office of the city or regional district where you want to move to. And the foreigner's office of that city or that regional district will then decide about it, whether you can move to that city or regional district or not. In fact, the foreigner's office usually decides based on its discretion whether they cancel the restriction of your city or regional district on your residence or not. However, if you have been working for a long period of time in Germany and in the foreseeable future you will also continue to work, you have a strong reason for the fact that the restriction on your residence in your current city or regional district should be cancelled. It is worth mentioning that in hardship cases, which in German it is called Härtefall, there is also the possibility to cancel the restriction of your city or regional district. In such a case, if you get the permission to move to another city or regional district, your residence will then be restricted in the city or regional district you have moved to. The hardship cases based on which you can change your city or regional district in Germany are as below. First, in case you want to join your spouse or your minor child living in another city or another regional district. And second, if there is another humanitarian reason of comparable importance. For example, a special care situation, a special vulnerability, or for example, due to sexual orientation or domestic violence. If you apply for a change of your city or for a cancellation of the restriction on your city or regional district of residence based on family reasons, as I mentioned before, you will usually be allowed to join your family. For other humanitarian reasons, the chances of success are unfortunately not quite good. That is why if you have other humanitarian reasons, detailed description of your reasons is more important. For example, if you have a specific illness and the specialist doctor who is treating you is working in the city you want to move to, or if you have a disability and your specialist doctor is working in the city you want to move to, or if one of your close relatives needs your special care in that city, or if you are alone in your current city and for this reason you're faced with psychological problems and based on the recommendation of your specialist doctor, changing your city helps you solve this problem, and so on. In each of such cases, a detailed description of your reasons in your application, and in most of such cases, a proof for these reasons is needed. If your application for changing your city or for cancellation of the restriction on your city or regional district of residence is being rejected by the foreigner's office, you can complain against this rejection in your respective administrative court. And if necessary, you should also submit an urgent application, which in German it is called Eilantrag, in the same court. In this case, then you do not need to contradict the decision of the foreigner's office in a written form to this office. If you have a Duldung and you can finance your living expenses by yourself and do not get any financial support from social welfare office, or you have good humanitarian reasons, you can also apply for change of your city or for cancellation of the restriction on your city or regional district of residence. In fact, the application process at the foreigner's office while having a Duldung in Germany is similar to the application process for the holders of a temporary residence permit in Germany, which I just explained for you. However, an important difference between them is that if the holders of a Duldung want to complain against the rejection of their application in their respective administrative court, they should have already contradicted the negative decision of their foreigner's office in a written form to this office. But for the holders of a temporary residence permit in Germany, as I mentioned for you before, it is not the case. Thanks a lot for watching my video. If you would like to get similar important information about the immigration laws in Germany, your rights and duties in German society, the living conditions in Germany, and other such important topics, please subscribe and follow our channel. If you have any questions or remarks about today's topic, you can write it under this video and I will be more than happy to answer it for you.